Hello, welcome back to the Ponderings of Pete. I'm Pete Wagger, and tonight we're going to be doing a very overdue review of Caliban's War. So I read Caliban's War back in November, and I meant to do a review then, but I didn't. So now that I have a little bit of time on my hands, I'm filming a bunch of everything stacked together and getting a few reviews out of the way. This is the first one. So as usual, I'm going to be doing part spoiler, part non-spoiler. I'm going to start with the non-spoiler section first, and I'm going to do the spoiler section afterwards with my thoughts there. So let's get into the non-spoiler section. So this is book 2. What did I like about it? What was it about, most importantly? Well, it starts out with what will be called the Ganymede incident. For those of you that don't know, Ganymede is the moon that is... It's one of Jupiter's moons, which are all named after Jupiter/Zeus's lovers, because he had a lot of affairs despite being married to the goddess of marriage, who was also his sister. Greek and Roman mythology is very weird. I didn't invent it. So yeah, the Ganymede incident. Let's go back to that. At the starting time of our book, the relations between Mars and Earth are still kind of tenuous. I mean, they're looking at each other down the sights of their sniper rifles essentially at the beginning of the book, and kind of waiting for the other to make a move. And then the Ganymede incident happens, which I won't spoil what that is, but something happens. The proto-molecule is back in play, and everything's going to crap. We have viewpoints from Holden, a doctor, Bobby Draper, who is a Martian Marine, and I think that's the only 3 we get. Bobby Draper is a Martian Marine, and she participates, is around the Ganymede incident when it happens, and after the Ganymede incident concludes, she is shipped off to Earth because of reasons. So what eventually happens, she ends up being put in contact with one of my favorite characters in this book, which is Avrasala. I think that's how you pronounce it. She's essentially the politician that runs the government, but no one's ever heard of her. Like when she's introduced by her title, I don't remember what it was, but it was just a bunch of gobbledygook. And you're just like, what does she actually do? Well, it turns out she actually technically, she pulls the strings. She's just this old grandma lady that loves pistachios, and take that image and then add a second personality to it that cusses up a storm and is the most conniving politician that you will ever meet. Because like when she's with her grandchildren and with her husband, she's so nice. I mean, some of it bleeds over because she has to be able to be honest with her husband, essentially, who's the sweetest. But when she's at work, she's in full politician mode. She's just like, sweet old lady, oh, go stuff yourself. So the doctor, his plotline, him and Holden meet up pretty early on. They're looking for the doctor's daughter. Ironically enough, Holden is on another rescue. I mean, if you take the plot line from the first half of book 1 for Miller, and then put that in Holden's chair. Holden and the doctor essentially are going after the daughter again. Is it tied with the proto-molecule? I don't know. You'll have to find out. But that's kind of a little bit repetitive. But the drama around Avrasala and Bobby Draper more than makes up for it, because that is where the real fun in this story is. Because Bobby's a Martian Marine, she has her own set of power armor, which is super cool to see on stage. This isn't a play. See on screen, also not a movie. See on the page, envision in my mind. So yeah, those scenes are fun. Holden is Holden, but he's struggling with things because he's changed since the last book. He's become a little bit more like Miller because jadedness. And, you know, spoilers for the end of book 1, they're waiting to figure out what happens on Venus because that's where the proto-molecule went. It's very interesting. I like this book better than the second one, the first one, simply because you get more of the in-depth politics. Like you mostly see more of Earth's politics and Earth's society, which is also very interesting because they have UBI, universal basic income. So that was an interesting theoretical thing that they put in there. And there's a lot of also little things that are as a result of the UBI that are very interesting that they've dropped in a few in the third book as well that relate to Earth society. Seeing that political connivingness happening around Earth politics and the standoffs with Earth and Mars, I really think it improved this book versus just focusing on Holden and Miller and their individual struggles. I liked those individual struggles in the first book, but I did really want more politics, and I got more politics in this book. If you like Leviathan Wakes, you're definitely going to like Caliban's War, even though if it might be a little bit repetitive. It might seem the plotline is a little bit repetitive with Holden and Miller's story kind of compressed a little bit into Holden's. But I think you will like it, and you'll probably like it more because of the world building. I know several people that read Leviathan Wakes that were annoyed that there wasn't more world building with the Earth and Mars. If you were frustrated with that in Leviathan Wakes, you more than likely will like the ways that Caliban's War grows the world. Holden is sort of still Holden, so he can be kind of self-righteous sometimes, but he does go through some changes in this book. Avasarala and Bobby are wonderful new additions to the cast, so if you still like sci-fi, you still like interesting characters, and you like multiple POV books, definitely continue on with Leviathan. Nope, wrong book. Caliban's War. So let's get into some spoilers. What did I like? What places did I like? I think there was a lot of interesting world building that went on in this book as a result of the increased focus on Earth. One, I was really interested in the UBI stuff. So I think he realistically, and this is definitely like put more into like more in-depth talked about, not even more in-depth, but like mentioned more in other books as well. So far as I can tell, I've only read through the third one. I haven't read the fourth one yet, even though it's sitting on my shelf behind Caliban's War right now. But he talks about UBI, like but it's a choice. Like you can either be on basic for the rest of your life, or you can work. And you have to work for like a period of a few years to figure out if you want to work, which is an interesting system. I'm not sure if it'll work. There's also a little bit of classism between those that are on basic and those that are not on basic, from what I can tell from comments. Which also makes sense, because people like putting other people into boxes. It's just how the human mind works. The human mind likes to work. It's almost inevitable because we see it a lot throughout history. So Avasarala was definitely the standout character in this book. Grandma plus cussing was great. I really liked how she maneuvered all the different politicians whose names I can't remember because I can only remember her name. Her relationship with her husband was also very nice. Like, I liked that they showed that, like, he's there to balance her out a little bit and kind of be her grounding wire. So I really liked that. The fact that she had grandkids was cool. So that was an interesting thing. Another very specific scene that I really liked related to world building was when Bobby first walked outside on Earth. Not only did it illustrate the differences between the different societies, you have the Belt and Mars, where they always have something over their heads. For on Mars, because they're not fully terraformed, you have, a dome, or you're in a ship. So if you're going outside, you're going to have either a face mask on or something like that before you look out into the Expanse. Yes, I did that pun on purpose. So going outside on Earth, where there's nothing above you except blue void. Wow. Terrifying. She's a panic attack, which is really cool. That was an interesting way of putting it. So Holden becomes a little bit more Miller-like in this book, which I was okay with. It showed him a little bit. It showed him and Naomi's relationship more, which is really cool. I did think their Holden and the Doctor's plotline was a little bit repetitive, but at the same time, that plotline was stretched over this entire book versus only going about halfway through. So that was nice to see a fully formed Goose Chase, but it still was a little bit repetitive. I think in the end, if they wanted to, they probably could have combined these two books into one. I think it's, and just like, so have the ending, the beginning and ending of Leviathan Wakes there. But if you, it would create a huge book, but if you condensed Miller and Holden's plot more, so they were looking for Julie and then they get to Eros halfway through the book, and then you also have the drama with Bobby Draper and Avasarala going on at the same time, you get more the Earth v Mars world building earlier on, and then simply, you know, Eros crashes into Venus at the very end, and then start of book 2 is the start of Abaddon's Gate, which I won't tell you what happens at the start of Abaddon's Gate. However, if they had done that, I think they would have cut out a lot of the world building that did go on. Some of the more, I think the right term is soliloquy that Miller has. Let me look up that term real quick. Yes, the correct term is soliloquy. So you would take out more of Miller's soliloquies, take out some of Holden's as well, just some of those long character contemplation of the universe. Because Avasarala and Bobby, like, that's something that kind of like is a mark of these. You have these characters that will like just ponder the universe for 2 or 3 paragraphs, which I like because I like the philosophical side of it. I like the world building aspect of it. So I think we would, if they had combined the first 2 books, we would have gotten less world building, and I feel like we would have gotten not duped. We would have felt like we would have gotten gypped out of that, given the path of Abaddon's Gate. Overall, I definitely like this book, and I'm definitely continuing on. Look out for the Abaddon's Gate review coming soon. I'm going to be reading Sabala Burn, which is the 4th book, in January of 2021. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. Hopefully, I mean, I am good. If I'm doing 1 book per month, I definitely will be ready for Leviathan Falls in September. I think I'm on track to finish the 8th book in like June. No. Yeah. No. May. It's late. I film these things at night too much. Have a great rest of your night, day, sleep cycle, whatever crazy sleep schedule you're on. Just have a great rest of it.